What's going on, everyone? About 63% of stocks in the S&P 500 closed down in the red today. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, today's video is going to be the most action-packed video of the entire week. There is so much going on right now. McDonald's stock is crashing in after hours after they just had a major E. coli outbreak. At the same time, Philip Morris stock is having its best year on record and running past its all-time high, as Zyn Demand is still just crushing it. The FAA dropped some pretty interesting new developments related to air taxis. At the same time, gold and silver are still pushing higher. Tesla reports earnings tomorrow, and we have a lot of good setups on the radar. So if you're going to watch any video to the end this week, make it this one. We have so much to cover, and Tom, let's not even waste any time. Let's get right to it.
Yeah, today was pretty awesome. I love to see that move out of gold, and even the SPY, that was a really good recovery this morning. It actually closed down in the red, though, by 0.05%, but from open, we saw a really good move. There was a lot of negativity, though, this morning with some of the earnings that had ended up releasing. But, Mike, there's not any earnings going on with McDonald's. I heard you mention that there was an E. coli outbreak, and this thing is looking up brutal in after hours. Right now, pretty much from where it closed to the low here in after hours, it dropped down over 10% with McDonald's. That is one hell of a drop, Mike. And, you know, anytime you get any type of headline that features something as drastic as E. coli, you know that that's going to hurt the stock. And I'm sure everybody just saw that Trump was at McDonald's over the weekend, too.
Very interesting. And, you know, the CDC, like we can see on the article right here, said that 10 people have already been hospitalized and one person died. And obviously, this is pretty bad news. And clearly, McDonald's stock is showing that pretty clearly. And, of course, McDonald's stock will be one worth watching very closely throughout the rest of this week. But I'm sure when many people think of E. coli outbreaks, they think of Chipotle and the disaster that they had back in 2015. So, you know, depending on how severe this outbreak gets will really depend on how badly McDonald's stock will get hit.
Yeah, exactly, right? And back in 2015, I'm sure a lot of people know about that situation with Chipotle. If you don't, definitely look it up. It's definitely worth your time to research it, especially if we start to see this situation with McDonald's start to get a little bit worse here. You never know with this stuff. You know, there's a lot of bad things that can happen with E. coli, and of course it can spread because, you know, it's pretty much coming from like meat producers on farms and stuff like that as well. So they have to really try to get this situation under control, Mike. But whenever this stock opens up tomorrow, it's going to be all the way down here on the daily chart around that 285 mark. And McDonald's had actually been recovering up really well the past couple months. It did get a little bit overextended, but I don't know. This was definitely the icing on the cake, as some would like to say.
And when you look at McDonald's daily chart, this stock really moves in like multi-week trends. We could see over the past couple of months, the stock has been in a great, strong uptrend. But when you zoom out even further, you could see that when it's downtrending, it lasts for a while, and these downtrends are pretty rough. So again, let's keep a close eye on this stock going forward. Depending on how bad the situation is, will really impact how bad this stock will fall. But keep McDonald's close on watch. Tom, do you have any key areas of support and resistance that we should look out for?
Yeah, whenever I'm looking at McDonald's chart here, especially on an hourly chart, it did start to base a little bit right around this key 280 support. If we do start to see it base and hold here, that would be a good thing over the next couple days. And I even have some more support right around 284, which is right around the low here in after hours. And of course, this news hit right as the market closed. So, you know, you know how after hours volatility can be. There can definitely be some big supports that ended up getting broken. But I'm definitely watching those levels as a couple first levels coming up, and then below there, 270 if we do end up seeing a larger drop.
Sounds good. And while McDonald's is getting taken to the woodshed, Philip Morris is soaring with clear skies ahead. For those of you who don't know, Philip Morris is a cigarette company, and their Zyn sales are booming. I'm sure many of you already know this, but basically looking at the stock, it's having its best year yet. Zyn Demand is insane right now, where the company actually just invested $600 million to build a brand new production facility for it in Colorado. Basically, there's a lot of money flowing towards this company right now. The stock is running towards running past its all-time high, and this intraday price action is grade A. So let's keep this one close on watch too.
Yeah, definitely. And Zyns have been very popular. They might not be the best for you. Definitely read up about that. But nonetheless, I always see them with people at the golf course and all over the place. So I definitely know what you mean, Mike. It's definitely grown in popularity a lot, and PM stock has actually been pretty surprising this year, even besides this move here. So very good movement by PM. Hopefully we continue to see this movement continue, and we see this following earnings pretty often, where you might see like a multi-day to multi-week run up here, and we might not see candles that post 10% days like today, but there can definitely still be some bigger movement here in store.
Yeah, I feel like with the setup like this one, it's a little bit too late to be entering into like a long-term position at this point, but for the short term, it could offer a lot of great opportunities in both directions. The easiest trade, in my opinion, being like a dip buy once the stock pulls back a little bit and, just trading based off that. But either way, we will keep this stock close on the radar for tomorrow and the rest of the week. But we definitely have to touch on the very exciting FAA news from today. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have already heard some things about this, but flying air taxis are getting closer and closer to becoming mainstream. There's still a lot of red tape that they have to get through, but basically there are a handful of companies out there trying to bring flying air taxis to the market. The biggest thing that has been holding a lot of these companies back is the lack of clear regulation on how this industry will be handled. Basically, the FAA today announced that these air taxis will actually be put in their own type of like vehicle class. So like you'll have like helicopters, airplanes, and like these eVTOLs, and this clarity in terms of regulation really helps companies in this industry. There are two main stocks that are moving off of this news. The first one is JOBY, and the second one is ACHR. They're both relatively similar, and they've both been struggling over the past couple of years for obvious reasons, as this industry just needs clearer regulation, and there's a lot that has to happen to get this industry truly functioning as many people hope it will one day. Long story short, this news is great in the short term for these stocks, and they're already moving off with a lot of momentum, and what's exciting about these stocks is that they are not to the point yet where they're like extremely overextended. This news is still pretty early, and there have been a lot of other things happening in the market in the short term where I don't think like this news has become too well known just yet.
Yeah, me either, Mike. And I know that these stocks have been pretty popular. I've had a lot of people ask me about them over the past couple of weeks, but I still think that they are under the radar for the most part. But after today, who knows? Maybe that'll start to change, because these stocks are looking pretty fire. Like JOBY here on the daily chart looks primed for a possible breakout here up above that recent high it posted around that $6.33 mark. And then, of course, we can go over to ACHR, which looks pretty good, bouncing off of support and also breaking out above a recent resistance, which is very close to 320. So I thought that was pretty amazing to see ACHR do here in the short term. And with those candles today, there's definitely a lot of short-term bullishness. And I think the overall setup is starting to set up to maybe see a good multi-week run out of these two. And I'm sure that there'll be even more news as as the regulations just start to get better and better for these vehicles, Mike. But what is up with these aircraft designs? I mean, could you imagine like literally walking through the city and seeing these things flying around? Like, I don't know that I could. This looks like something off of Halo or something.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And what's pretty interesting is that there's a lot of big money flowing into it, and not the way that you might think. Of course, there is a big money trade with this that we'll definitely talk about as the video goes on, so you better stick with us all the way until the end. But ACHR actually had United Airlines place a $1 billion order for over 200 aircraft, and then Joby actually had a $60 million investment from Delta Airlines, and then a $500 million investment from Toyota. So let's keep a close eye on these stocks going forward. But I will say this very clearly, like if you're just looking at what this stock might do tomorrow, then that's just the wrong way to look at it. Stocks like this one will naturally move over time. So keep that in mind, but I'm very excited to see how these stocks do, not only over like the rest of the year, but even in the coming years ahead. So I will definitely keep them on the radar. But Tom, you know we can't move any further into today's video without touching back on gold and silver. I don't know how many times we've talked about gold and silver over the past year alone, but they are still booming. So gold is just under $2,750 an ounce. Silver is just under $35 an ounce. GLD and SLV are ripping up. Gold mining stocks and just mining stocks in general are still moving higher. So once again, keep these stocks on your radar. They are moving, and it's been a great year. I'll put it that way.
It definitely has. They continue to go. The GDX big money play continues to recover up well in the short term is also, you know, that spread play starting to do very well here. So just it's awesome to see gold continuing like this, Mike. I will say, though, I'm kind of expecting a bit of a slowdown soon out of at least GLD and SLV themselves. Man, we normally don't see them rip up like this. This is starting to get pretty insane and overextended. So I'm going to be a little wary as far as like the intraday moves go, but I still like them overall here to the upside, but I am getting a little wary.
Yes, and for those of you who haven't seen our videos recently about gold and silver, basically there's a lot of reasons pushing these up. Of course, the election fears, the federal deficit fears, war in the Middle East, and just diversification all plays a role into the inflows that gold and silver are seeing. But of course, there's a lot that goes into it, so definitely tune into the episodes daily to get the full scoop. But while that's awesome, we do have a pretty loaded earnings schedule for tomorrow, with the big boy, Tesla, set to report after the bell. So it's going to be an exciting day.
It is, and hey, I want to hear in the comments how everybody feels about Tesla's report tomorrow. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of opinions on this one, Mike. Everybody has something to say whenever it comes to Tesla and Elon, of course. So I can't wait to read those. But even tomorrow morning, VRT, Boeing, AT&T, Coca-Cola, NextEra Energy, those are all going to be some pretty big stocks to keep an eye on. Even the defense stock, General Dynamics down there, trying to hide from us. So there's quite a bit in pre-market tomorrow, Mike, and even in after hours. Besides Tesla, another stock that we've mentioned quite a bit recently reports, which is NEM, one of the miners.
Yes, and I'll definitely say that this earnings season has been one of the best earnings seasons for continuation plays. Whether you were looking at GM or PM from today, or Netflix from last week, or TSM from last week, or UAL from last week, or any of the other recent earnings stocks, we have been seeing some great moves after the fact in both directions. So like, guys, don't think that you have to gamble your money ahead of time before these earnings come out. There's a lot of opportunity after the fact, and this earnings season has been especially good for like options move after the earnings come out.
Yeah, definitely. You can see GM today, even though the earnings came out this morning, there was that huge jump once the market opened, right? Sometimes you'll see the earnings gap up and they'll start to pull back quite a bit, but we've been seeing some great runs. Like from the time the market opened today to the high on GM, that was an 8% run, and it ended up 9.8% up on the day. So that's just one like little example there. And I know the bot actually hit on GM this morning as well, which was kind of a fun play. But Mike, I know that the earnings are huge. There's not really anything, though, on the economic schedule, which in my opinion is a good thing. It lets us focus on the earnings and, of course, Tesla's earnings and after hours tomorrow, which will be my favorite. And, you know, just doing a quick rundown on Tesla, Mike, they haven't really had the best week, but there's a big short-term support around this 215 to 215.80 area.
Tesla has single-handedly been the choppiest stock over like the past 2 weeks or so. It is stuck in this very tight range where like there's like the investor sentiment is just pinned and everyone's waiting for this earnings report to come out. So I am very excited to see what Tesla has in store for this quarter, and I'm excited to see some movement with this one. So it should be a fun week. But looking at SPY, Tom, what do you have for us in terms of important levels and charting analysis?
Yeah, today SPY did really well. It got really close to the 584 area as that high of day, which was a pretty big resistance from yesterday. It ripped above there ever so slightly, but you can see at the end of the day, ended up hitting it again and rejecting down. So I'm going to keep watching the 582.50 support along with 581, 580, and then 578 to the downside. That's what I'm watching here on the SPY. Down to the upside, I'm watching 585, and then the all-time high up around 586.30. In the short term, SPY's really failed to break out above a key trend here. It's been kind of on a bad downwards trend the past week or so, and we need some of these earnings to really get it to have that continuation and push towards those new highs.
Sounds good. So I will definitely keep that in mind. And besides that, let's jump right into some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is CGC, and it is to the upside. For those of you who don't know, CGC is a marijuana stock, and given how close the elections are, it would not be unreasonable to think that there could be increased talk about this and just news. Basically, these stocks move in crazy ways. The more momentum and attention that marijuana stocks have, the crazier they get. Today alone, CGC was up just under 15%, but when we zoom out, we could see that this stock has very crazy moves when it has news. So with that being said, I like the reward to risk ratio right here in a bullish way. Right now, the stock is just under $5 a share. I think like a stop loss right around that like $4.48 level with profit targets up to $7 to like $9 is like the initial level. Looks pretty good, and CGC will definitely be on my bullish radar.
Yeah, it's awesome here in the short term. I love seeing these MJ stocks start to move. I was seeing Tilray run up with CGC today as well, and even the MJ ETF started to move, and a lot of these stocks are around major supports as well. I didn't want to call out Tilray because I saw you had CGC on there, Mike, so I didn't want to do a double call out here, but I love that support down here on these stocks. With my first play, I'm going with the stock that we called out last week, or that I talked about last week, ticker symbol PHUN, which really continued today in a great way. It was up 38.4%, and looking at it on the daily chart, this stock is explosive. It does have some ties to Trump as well, so maybe the short-term bullishness out of DJT and just with Trump in general is maybe getting this to move a little bit, but nonetheless, I'm going to continue to watch Phunware to the upside. There's some pretty insane momentum that can be had with this stock. Of course, there's periods throughout the day where it slows down, but if you can catch it while it's running, it can be very, very explosive.
Yeah, I mean, today it was up over 38% alone, so that tells you the level of volatility that there is with this one. And shout out to you, Tom, for being early to this setup. So great stuff there, and I will keep this on the radar as well. But another stock that I'm looking at is LMT, and it is actually to the downside. This is a war/defense stock that has been doing very well over the past year, but definitely had a disappointing earnings, at least in terms of a market reaction sense. Either way, I like the reward to risk ratio playing this one in a bearish way, but I'm not willing to give it that much wiggle room to the upside. Right now, the stock is closing pretty close to its lows, right around like $577 a share. As long as it can keep constant pressure on its lows, I do like this setup in a bearish way. However, if it gets back above like that $580 area or even up to like $582.50, then I won't be like that adamant on playing it to the downside. It's more so like a momentum-based earnings continuation setup.
Lockheed has been so good this year. It's pretty insane to see how they were continuing to make new highs. Then these earnings really flipped the script here for this stock, but I'll definitely be watching them down as well, Mike. They have situations where they've had earnings and they've had multi-week runs following the earnings. There's one example from July of 2024, and then there's another one from January 2024, kind of like this one, where there was a first initial nasty red candle, then we had that really nice move down. So I'll definitely be watching it down also, Mike. And another stock I'm watching down is AMD in the short term. I'm watching this short-term support right around 153, but I also really like how it broke the 155 support that it actually was stuck at for about a week before finally breaking here today. So So I'm going to really keep watching it down as long as it holds under 154.50. That's really the area I want to see it stay below, and then I want to see a rebreak of 153. But overall, I'm watching AMD back to the downside.
Sounds good. And then we can't forget about the Bookmap levels either. I saw 150 was a major buy wall.
Yeah, it really was down there. And if we do start to see that break below 153, I'm going to watch 152 very close. You can see that there are a little bit of buyers stacked up there, so that'll be a slight buy wall to watch out for. But overall, I'm with you, Mike. 150 is huge down there. There was like 114,000 shares stacked there around the end of the day today, and it's a big psychological level too at 150. So if we do get that drop, that would be a decent target. I would expect a bounce if we start to touch 150, and honestly, Mike, might even be able to watch for a bounce back up, but I love being able to see it on the Bookmap here, and shout out to them for the X-ray vision.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's get right into today's momentum plays, and with the first one, we have GM to the upside.
General Motors killed it today. If they end up breaking out above the high of day around 54.20, watch for a continuation. It's an earnings continuation setup.
All right, with the next one, we have Snow to the downside.
Poor Snowflake. They were down 3.4% today. If they're able to re-break 115, then watch them back down.
All right, and now with the last one, we have AG to the upside.
AG has been killing it with silver in the short term, up 4.35% today. They're right around the $8 resistance, so if they're able to break that, then watch for a continuation higher.
All right, so we have AG and GM on watch for potential upside moves only if they break above the level Tom listed. We have SNOW on watch for a downside move only if it breaks below the level listed. Either way, these three stocks are on watch for potential momentum plays tomorrow, where the stronger and more consistent they move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, or if they just move in a choppy way, don't feel the need to force the setups. Again, we're looking for strength here, so keep that in mind. But besides that, it's now about that time for what will probably end up being the most exciting part of the video, which is today's $1.5 million big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol ACHR. So Archer Aviation, we talked about this stock a little bit earlier in the video as the FAA news was released. But basically, today we saw the big money buy up the 4 strike call options that expire on January 17th of 2025. This is a $1.5 million trade where they're expecting the stock to go higher. Of course, the recent short-term news is very helpful for this company and the industry as a whole. The stock is already moving in a momentum-filled way. I like how the options have time to them. The strike price is out of the money, but reasonable given the stock and news and momentum at hand. So with that being said, this is a higher risk, higher reward setup. I really like the short-term situation with this one, and today's price action was really great. So if you can handle the heat, if you can handle the volatility, then the opportunity's there. But I'm excited to see how this one does.
If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. And that's kind of what we're looking at here on ACHR. But I'll be real with you, I love this setup. One of my favorite big money plays. It's down around key support. We've been seeing a lot of the big money plays that have been kind of like support bounces doing very, very well over the past few days and few weeks. So I love the setup there. There's a good catalyst as well with Archer. And Mike, you know, going over to Archer Aviation's website a little bit, some of the tech and just, I would say just sheer, like, you know, this is just so futuristic. You know, we talk about Tesla cyber taxis and going to Mars and all this stuff. Honestly, this kind of blows my mind almost more than some of that stuff does with the way that, you know, that this aircraft looks. And I just think it's really wild looking, very futuristic. You know, this one's their new Midnight. They talk about maybe doing like 20 to 50 mile flight times, minimal charges between those. And, you know, you could take it maybe around the city or, you know, out to dinner or something like that, or to a conference, for example. But I don't know, Mike, the future's here. It's going to be a crazy future, but some of the stuff I'm seeing here is just insane.
You know it, and what excites me the most is how we're actually seeing like real actions taken to, I guess you could say, get some of these newer technologies into deployment. I think it says a lot how the FAA, clarified some of the rules and regulations going forward, as that has been one of the major things holding companies like ACHR and JOBY back. So either way, let's keep a close eye on these stocks throughout the rest of the year as they are moving in some pretty exciting ways. But if you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating the subscribe button. Basically, it takes us hours to make these videos, and we cover everything you have to know about the market, whether it's important news, earnings, events, information, big money trades, anything and everything. We have you covered. When you subscribe, you'll get our videos recommended to you more often. But we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Money Hunter in the Stocked Up trading floor, who said this new bot is an absolute game changer. Thank you, Stocked Up crew. And he posted a great profit screenshot with some 71% gains from PDD this morning. So huge shout out to you, Money Hunter. Thanks for being a great member of the community. If you guys are into short-term trading and you're actually looking to take your trading game to the next level, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. That will give you access to the Stocked Up trading floor, which includes full access to our army of trading bots. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long, join our weekly members-only live events, access the big money plays just like this ACHR one from today on the same day that the trade is made, plus get access to a list of other tools and resources where if I explained every one of them, this video would be 2 hours. So basically, if you want everything you need for short-term trading, the Stocked Up trading floor is the place to be. It'll be that first link in the description in the comments down below. And we've been just adding more and more to it, where it's just the gift that doesn't stop giving. So thank you all so much for watching today. We have an exciting next couple of weeks ahead of us for multiple different reasons. So thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.